We'll do in Sefer Maimorim Melukit in volume Gimel, volume 3. This is the 59th Maimer and the end. This is not a Mugadik Maimer that was published. As you see right in the beginning, it says it's Anocha Bilti Muga. The Rebbe said this Maimer on Achron Shel Pesach during the meal on the year Tafshin Chof Zayin. And the Maimer is Hafach Yom Le'Yabosha. It says in the note over here that the Rebbe did add several notes to it, and that's why they put it into the this with the Mugadika Maimorim, because this was in essence a little bit looked over by the Rebbe in the sense that the Rebbe made a few notes. He says, and this is also in connection. You'll see the pasuk over here is from Yud Aleph Nisan in the year Tafshin Chav Zayin. That's when they started saying the pasuk. Order 16 that the reference is here is that this came out in a separate booklet, and it was printed together with the Mittler Rebbe's Maimorim. They have the mimer here, Ayom, as the Rebbe quotes later on. So that's why this is printed here in the back. It's not a full Mogadike mimer, but it's still the beginning and the end were looked over by the Rebbe, and the Rebbe reviewed some of that mimer of the Mittler Rebbe. Anyways, let's learn inside. Achron Shel Pesach Besud Tov Shechav Zayin. The pasuk is Hafach Yom LaYabosha Banohor Ya'vru B'Rogel. This is the pasuk in Tehillim, as we said in the Kapitel Tehillim from the Perik Samach Vov, which is the Kapitel they started saying that Yud Aleph Nisan, the Rebbe's Kapitel. So the pasuk says the Rebbe brings down two taichin in the pasuk, whether it's all talking about Kriyas Yamsuf of the past, or as the Rebbe explains in the beginning, it's talking about part of the pasuk is talking about the past, and the other part is talking about the future. Let's look inside. Hofach Yom La Yabosha, he turned the Yam, the ocean, into dry land. So that Banor Yavru Beregel Shom Nishmcha Boy. In the river they will pass by foot, meaning because it's dry, you don't need any other means, no boats, you go by regel. And over there we rejoice, Shom Nishmcha Boy. So in Pashtus, Hofach Yom La Yabosha is talking about the past. Banohor Yavru, they will pass Beregel. Shom Nismecha Boy is talking about the future. Pirush Bazehu. So what is the meaning here? Hafach Yom LeYabosha is Loshen Ovar. He turned the Yam to Yabosha is a language of the past. And therefore Medaber, what he's talking about is Bikriyas Yamsuf, is about splitting the sea that took place in the past when the Yidden went out of Mitzrayim. But Banar Yavru Beleveragel, but they will go through by foot in the Nor Loshed Osid, in the language of the future, Koi as Laosid Love. This goes on the future because over there too, the Pasuk says in Yeshayish Oz Yiyah Vehenif Yodei al Hanor Bayom Roche. Hashem will raise his hand over the river with the fierce spirit, the fury of his spirit. There will be also a la'achrei asher vehechrim Hashem es l'shon yam Mitzrayim. after Hashem will destroy the tongue of the ocean of Mitzrayim, meaning there will be a level of dry land, a level of Kriyas Yamsuf by the Lashon Yam Mitzrayim, the water of Mitzrayim, when Hashem will make another time the level of splitting the sea. So then there will be B'nehar Ya'avru B'Regel. So they will go through because it was V'hechrim Hashem es L'Shem Yam Mitzrayim. So it will be dry land, and they will go through. And then V'shom Nishmcha. Then there, meaning after the La'osid Love, after that will be the real joy, La'osid Love. And we say V'shom Nishmcha Boy. Boy ba'atzmusay. Boy would mean in atzmus. The atzmus will be revealed, and they will rejoice in the level of atzmus. So, what's the connection with tying the thing that happened in the past, the Kriyas Yamsuf, with what's going to play the Osid Lavai? From the fact that he connects the ties that he turned the ocean into Yabosha to B'nehar Ya'avru, to the river that they will pass. Av shezman rav v'yoser b'neim. Even though there's lots of time in between it, between Kriyas Yamsuf L'Osid Lovei. Move on. So from this we understand Shahofach Yom La Yabosha. And the fact that he turned the Yam to Yabosha, Hu hanesinas koyach sheyiya achakach b'nehar Ya'avru b'Regel. That gives the power that later on they should be able to go through by foot in the future. Based comes the koyach of it come from Hafach Yom LaYabosha. Like we find in the Pasuk, the connection between what took place at Eretz Mitzrayim when they went out with the future redemption. The Pasuk says, Kimei Tzeischom Eretz Mitzrayim are Enel Liflois. As the days that you left Egypt, I will show you wonders in the future. So when it says, like the days you left Mitzrayim, I'll show you, it's not just, say, a sample, but it's actually a koyach, that from the Tzias Mitzrayim we get the koyach Haren Niflois. She'ein zeh dugma ba'almo. It's not just a sample, a comparison. Just like that, it was something happened by Mitzrayim, Eretz Mitzrayim went out, and something will happen in the future. No. It's more than just comparing. But they hinge one on the other. The exodus of Egypt brings about the future redemption. That's why several details of the future redemption are learned out of the Geula of Mitzrayim. That is the one pshat. So this pshat, Havach Yom LaYabosha, talks about the past, about what took place by Kriyas Yamsuf, and B'nehar Ya'avru b'Regel Shom Nishmcha Boy is Li'osi. But there's also another pirush that it's all talking about Yetzias Mitzrayim. V'hinei Eid pirush was another interpretation. Asher kol hakosuf medaber b'Kriyas Yamsuf. That this entire pasuk is talking about Kriyas Yamsuf. The whole Gimul Ha'inyonim, all three things, the Hafach Yom LaYabosha and the Nor Ya'avru b'Regel Hashem Nishmcha Boy, took place by Kriyas Yamsuf. So Al Pizeh, in this way, so you don't have to connect what's the connection between it. Move on b'pshitus. Sheyeshnom shaychas zelazeh. Then it's obviously simply understood that there's a connection one to the other. So why does it use the lotion of the future banohar yavru som nishmcha boy when it was in the past? It is because of the continuous Banor, what happened, it's spoken about the past, but it's Banor, Yavru, they keep on going through Baregel and Shom Nismecha Boy. Mashakosu, Banor, Yavru, Baregel, Beshom Nismecha, Loshin Osid, Moire al Hatmidus. That points to the constant. The Banor, they went through and go through all the time. The Bechol Aliyah Leregel, every time when the Yidden go up for the Yomim Tovim to Eretz Yisrael, to the Beis HaMikdash, Hoya Avora Benor, there is a going through, they go through the river. Metaphorically speaking, you're always going through the river to go through Eretz Yisrael, to go to the Beis HaMikdash. V'gam kipshutai, also literally, not just metaphorically, because the Nor Hayadua, Hare Nor Hayadua, Stam Nor B'Tanach. What is the Nor Shom Banohor in the Nohor? Which Nor? What is the no Nor? And also Stam Nor in Tanach, Hare Zeh Nahar Pros. So the Yidden that are coming from the other side would act to actually prep past the Nahar Pros. They would go through. Hine koyach al zeh v'ha'ascholo hoya b'kriyas yamsuf. So the power for going through and the opening, where did it all start, was with Kriyas Yamsuf for the passing, the Yavru Beregel. Regel is with the foot when they did the Oila Regel. They went up by foot in the holiday by the Regel. Shebanor Yavru, they go through the Nahar Pros Beregel on the way to with the feet when they're going up at Liyah Leregel. V'chein shom nismecha boy. Same thing is that the pasuk, the third idea, that there will be rejoicing with him, which is what took place. And Kriyas Yamsuf will also be Balila Regel. Zehu Masha Bekriyas Yamsuf Hoysov Shiras Hayam. The Nismecha boy was the song of the Yidden saying, was Yoshir by the Yam, and we said V'kol echod ve'echod marebetz boy. It wasn't Stamashir, it was Nismucha boy, because each and every one, as it's brought down in the Medrash, that marebetz boy v'oimer would point with his finger and say, Zekeli vanveu. So this is my God. So it would be boy, and I will beautify him. This is in the Shiras Hayam. So Nismacha, we have both rejoicing, Shiras Hayam, uboy, Nismacha boy, Vatzmuse. In Ikmoy Kain, ubechol, Simcha shel Mitzvah. And the same thing is true by every joy of a mitzvah, that we have the idea of Simcha. B'simchas regolim, b'aliyah l'regel, and this is the joy of the festivals. And when we go up to the l'regel, the oz yire kol, then we have the idea yiro kol zuchurcha. It should be visible. We should all be seen. Shabo liris, k'shem shabo liris, kach bo liris, kol shabo, chul shabo liris is b'nei Hashem. Befrat, specifically, you come to see. So this is when we have the joy of the regel, every simcha shel mitzvah, and this jumtive when we go beregel, and we have this simcha when we are seeing boy, when we see as pnei Hashem, b'voy kol baso liris as pnei Hashem, we're saying the face of Hashem, the boy, nismach boy befrat. So we have the second taich that this is all that took place by Kriyas Yamsuf. The Banohar Yavru, they went through Beregel, which is though a continuous all Yomim Tovim, all Regel. And also the idea of Shom Nishmacha Boyd, over there was the Simcha with the Atzma, with Hashem, Zekelivan Veyu, which is also by the idea of when you go the Roes, when you call the Regel, you go Liris Pnei Hashem. Hine, B'kriyas Yamsuf Ksiv, Legoizer Yamsuf Ligizorim, Kiloilom Chazdoi, Behever Yisrael Besoicha Kiloilom Chazdoi. We say this in the Tilim, Hal HaGodl, say it on Shabbos. So we say two things. First, we say Kriyas Yamsuf, Legoizer Yamsuf Ligizorim. He ripped up the Yamsuf into pieces. And we thank Hashem. We says, Ki lo'ilum chazde, for your kindness is forever. Then we say a second thing, V'hever Yisrael b'soichoi, and you brought the Yidden through it, Ki lo'ilum chazde, for your kindness is ever. He doesn't say, L'goizer yamsuf l'gzorim v'hever Yisrael b'soichoi, Ki lo'ilum chazde. He says it two separate Ki lo'ilum chazde. The me'emrei beis pam Ki lo'ilum chazde, because he says two times Kilel Chazdei, Muchach shekol inyan mishnei elu chesed b'fnei atzmei. It's obvious that each one is a kindness by itself. First, that he split the sea, and then that he brought them through. This is like in our posik, Hafach yom la yabosho, that's l'geisel example. Then is banohar ya'vru. So these are two separate. We see from the fact that we say two kiloilam chazdei that these are two separate kindness. And this is actually articulated and written in the Haggadah. We say when we count out how many good favors that the Shem did for us. So we say Kora lonu es hayom, that he ripped for us, he tore the ocean, which means Hafach Yom La Yabosha, the fact that Goizer Yamsuf Li Gezorim. V'oid Maile, and then it says, Ilu Kor Lyonos Hayom V'levrona B'soicha, then Ilevrona B'soicha, then V'levrona B'soicha B'charova. That's the second Dayenu, is V'levrona B'soicha B'charova. So these are two parts. But the Rebbe asks, since the whole reason for splitting the sea is what's just a miracle to show us they can split the sea, is so that we should go through in the sea. So why is it split into two? It's not understood. The whole idea of the splitting of the sea is so that the Yidden should go through in it. So why is it two separate pieces? One is the splitting of the sea, and the other one is going through it, when the whole purpose of splitting the sea was so that they go through. Ice base. So we'll understand it by first understanding what is the Yam and what is the Yabosha. What does it mean to split the Yam and reveal it into the Yabosha? Yam is hidden. Usually it represents the Alma de Iskasya, the hidden worlds, which Oretz is Begilu, is the surface, is the revealed part. Yuvan Zabahagdem Biur Admur Hatzem Tsoi. We'll understand it by introducing the explanation of the Mitlan Rebbe, B'mamore HaYedua, in the known Maimer, which starts with the words Dibra Maschil Beikeya Yom. Splits the sea. There he writes, Lahovin Inyan Kriyas Yamsuf, in the Maimer, to understand Beikeya Yom, to understand the idea of Kriyas Yamsuf. Inyan the Yam v'Yabosha, these two concepts of ocean and dry land Yeshnoi b'chol habchinas v'adargo. V'adargo is this exists in all levels, in all steps. Milmaila maila ad lamata mata, from higher higher all the way to lowest low. In all levels, we have yam and we have yaboshu. We have these two levels. Mavayir Azal Pi Moshul, he explains it according to a moshul. Generally speaking, when we give a moshul, shetzorich liyes doime v'koriv lahanimshul, that needs to be similar and close to the nimshul, otherwise it would be a moshul. So we will understand it from something which is going to explain to us and reflect this idea of Yam and Yabosha in the other higher levels. Inyan the Yam Yabosha, understand this from the idea of Yam Yabosha, K'moy shehem lamata begashmis, as they are here below physical. The Hine Amru Razal, or our sages of blessed memory, tell us that kol ma sheyesh bayabosha yesh bayam, whatever we find in the dry land also exists in the water, in the ocean. But so while everything of the dry land is in the ocean, but yet yesh hefresh ben habruim shebeyabosha lahabruim shebeyam. There is a difference between those creations that are in the dry land and the creations that are in the ocean. Shahabruim shebeyam mechusim b'mei hayam. The creatures of the ocean are covered with the water of the ocean. Ad sheleinikeres mitziusam leenkol. To the extent they're covered that you can't tell, it's not recognizable, their existence for everyone to see. We don't see what's under the cover, what's under the ocean. So that's as far as others can't see. It's obscured from others seeing that. But the gam heim atzmam, also the creatures of the yam, they themselves margishim shahayam hu moker chayosam. They feel, they sense that the ocean is the place where they get their energy. That's where they get the life force. Because they know, as soon as they go up to dry land, they die. But this is not the same as opposed to the creations, the creatures that are on the dry land. Hine, af shehakoil hoya mina offer, even though everything comes from the offer from the dry land, but we don't grow in the ground. The way the growing things grow, it's not in a way that it's covered within the ground, within the offer. But it's outside of the offer. On the face of the earth, that's where the growing things. So this is even the growing things don't grow in the ground, they go above ground. But how much more so when we talk about that's the tzemech, the growing thing, but the category of chai, the living thing, shafilu eina mechuber el offer. He's not even connected to the ground, to the offer. K'moyat tzemech as the growing things. And also the same thing is the person shu shleimus habriya, who is the wholesome, the most complete of creation. Af shenivra offer min ha'adama, even though he's created from the ground. The whole protei yitztarchusei, and all the details, whatever the person's needs, are all associated to the ground. K'moy achila u'shtiya v'demeim. Eating and drinking and similar, everything is from the ground. But yet, hanehu davar nifrad min ha'ofar, he is something separate from the offer. And on top of the offer, al pnei ha'adama dafki, he's on the face of the earth dafki. So the sibas. So you see that by the creatures of the ground in the ocean, they're in the water, and that's the source of their life. But the creatures of the earth, even the tzemeach, grow on top of the ground. But certainly the chai is not connected, and the adam is separate al pnei adam. So what's the difference? The sibas hachiluk bein habruim shebiyam libruim shebeyabosho. Why is there the difference between the creations of the yam to the creation of the dry land? Tluya ba'oifon hamshocha mimekoyda. That hinges how they are come out, they're nimshach from their source. Behind Shebiyabosho mekablim chayusom mimekoydom ba'oifon shel richuk. That in the dry land, they get their energy from their source in a way of a distance. They're separated from the source. That means Hainu Shamokar hu behelem behester behem. Their source is hidden and obscure from them. Belochein loizu bilvad she'eno mechusim ba'ofor. Not only are they not covered in the earth, that it appears to them that they're an entity by themselves, because the earth and the source, they come from the earth, but the source is hidden for them. So they're distant from their source. So they're not only are they not covered, but they don't even feel their source. They appear to be an entity by themselves. And that's why they are separate and they go up Neo Hadama. So this is the physical example. So what do we understand the nimshal, the way to apply it above on the spiritual level? But nimshal mazeh, and the nimshal, the example of this, ba'achiluk sheben yam leyabosha lemayla, the difference between the ocean and the dry land above. The Hine will understand what is the meaning of Yam Yabosha on the spiritual level. The Yam Koyi al Olmen Stimen Lois Galin. Yam refers to the hidden worlds that have not been revealed, which is Alma de Iskasi, the world that is covered. Shaberuyim Shabahem, the creations that are in that Alma de Iskasi, in the hidden world. They are subjugated to the source of their life, the source of life, that is felt by them openly revealed. As the supreme angels, their vitality is their subjugation to godliness. The fact that they are subjugated to the source of their chayis, to Hashem, that's their life. K'meshe kosuf, yiras havaya l'chayim. The fear of Hashem is to their life. V'abitl shalahem, and their subjugation of be'oifen is in such a way she'eno mitzias la'atzmam klal, that they are not an entity independently at all. They're not an entity for themselves. Ella kol mitziusam hi hamitzias dalakus. Their entire entity is the entity of godliness. Shalochein motzinu. That explains, because they have no self entity, they're totally subjugated. That's why angels will talk in a form of godliness. They say, I promise, binishbaiti, as if they're God, because it's not. How could they say that? Because it's not them saying it, it's God saying that, because they don't have a separate entity. Shalochein motzinu b'malochim elyonim. That's why we find by the supreme angels sha'imrim, they say, binish baiti. The angel says to Avram, I have sworn by myself, but this is the Abish. How could they say? Or they said by Avram, Levilti Hofchi, I will not turn over with Loit. I said to Loit, I'm not going to turn over. How could they attribute what's going to happen, the Shvuah, not to turn over to themselves? It's not them, it's the Eberster. The Lecheda in the movement. Lecheda is not understood. Hare Malach Hunivra. A Malach is a created being. How could he say about himself a language which points to godliness? Hello? But because since he is no entity for himself at all, and his entire entity is godliness. That's what he is. He's Hashem. He's not separate. That's what he can say about himself, a language which points to godliness. So that's why Malachim, which are in Almodi Iskasia, and they feel their mokar, and that is their home Mitzias, speak in a language of godliness, even though they're created beings, because they're not entities by themselves. They're totally subjugated to their source. And v'cheinu b'neshamas koidem yiridosam lamato. And the same thing is true with the souls before they descend below. Sha'emdim bebitl tmidi lelikus. They stand in a constant subjugation to godliness. Ve'ena metzias b'fnei atzum. They are not an entity by themselves. That is bedugmas dogim shebiyam shebetelim betachlis legabayam. It is similar to the fish in the ocean that are totally, completely subjugated to the ocean. That is Alma Diskasia, that is the Yam in the spiritual level. Then we say the dry land, that refers to the revealed world. The created beings in the revealed world appear to be an entity by themselves. Not only by themselves, but they're like totally separate. To the extent that they're an entity, something which is separated, not only independent, but separated from Hashem. From this, there can evolve the existence of a matter that can block and hide and oppose godliness. It can block holiness, cover unholiness, obscure holiness, and oppose to godliness. That is how much entity you become, to the extent till that creation can say, as used by Loshen in the posting about Pari, Ani ve'afsiyot, it's me, everything besides me is nothing. I am alone, my own entity. So we have Yam represents total bittul to godliness. Yabosha represents an entity by yourself. Sibas hachiluk. Bein habruim sheba'alma diskasya lahabruim sheba'alma disgalia. The reason for the difference between the created beings in the hidden world to the creations in the revealed world. Why is this different? That hinges on how they came down. They were drawn down from the surf. Sphiras HaMalchus, from the sphere of Malchus. Shehi Mokir Hisavos the Chol Ha'olam V'Nivroim. Malchus, the sphere of Malchus, is the source of creation of all worlds. Skalia and Iskasia, the revealed, and all creations. Commercial cost. The pasuk says Malchuscha. Your Malchus is Malchus Kol Ilamim. That's the kingdom of all Ilam. The Hine Spheres Malchus Nikras Pa Lifamim B'Shem Yam. Sometimes Malchus, the spheres Malchus is called Yam. Ulifamim Nikras B'Shem Yabosha. Sometimes it's called Yabosha. Kishasviras HaMalchus Oila Lemailo. Lekabel Mibchinas Chochmo Bina. When Malchus, the sphere of Malchus, goes up, it's on the bottom, is the 10th sphere. But when Malchus goes up and climbs up above to receive from the level of Chochmo Bina, Shenikroim B'Shem Yam. Chochmo Bina is called Yam. The Yud of the Yam is Chochma. Ki Yud Yam Koir al Chochma. That Yud represents Chochma, the Nekuda, the point. V'Yam, and together 10 and 40, B'Gematria Chamishim, Remes, that 50 hints al Chamishim Shari Bina. That hints at the 50 gates of Bina. So you have Chochma Bina. So when Malchus goes up to Chochma Bina, it gets the level of Yam, Azai Nikras Gam Hi B'Shem Yam. Then she too is called Yam. K'meisha Kosu, the pasuk says, Vayom Aleya Milmailo. That's on top of them. That's when it comes, when it goes up to the Sphira, goes up to the level of Chochma Bina. Umimeno, Mekabelis, Mebchines Shalamato, Mechochma, Ubina, Chesed, Ugvura. Umimeno mishavin, sorry, skipped a line. Umimeno mishavin, almond stimin, and from her are created the hidden worlds. Shahabruim shabohem nikroim nuneyama. Those creatures are called the creatures of the ocean, nuneyama, the creatures of the ocean. Shamalchus yeredes lamato chulu. So from that level of malchus we get almond stimin, the nuneyama. Malchus yeredes lamato, when Malchus descends below Chulu, she'oz mekabeles mebchines shalamato mechochma bina. Then she gets from the lower spheres of chochma bina, chesed gvura Chulu. She's back as the 10th sphere, getting from not direct to chochma bina but chesed gvura. Azai nikras b'shem yabosha ve'eretz. Then Malchus is called dry land and eretz. K'meisha kosuv. The Oretz is the pedestal of my feet. That's the level of Malchus, as it is the pedestal of the feet, the lowest level, the Regel. Is having almond is Galium. And from her, from the Malchus, as it is level of Eretz, created the revealed words. Shabruim Shubahem Nidim Liyesh V'Dovar Nifra B'Fnei Atzmei, in which the creations in the revealed world appear to be an entity and something separate, independent by themselves. So when Malchus is receiving from Chochma Bina, then it's Yam. Then it creates the Alma de Iskasia, the Nuneyama. When it descends and it gets from all the spheres above it, then it's the level of Eretz, level of Ofar and Eretz, and then it creates the Alma de Galia, in which the creations find themselves as an entity, something by themselves.